So, without further ado, LIAMBECK.
Here we go.
My name's Liam. I work as a concept artist in film. Bob was mentioning, do you guys know how a general art department is set up, or you understand like what a production designer is? And okay, cool. Anyone who doesn't, would do just a general sort of description is, as a concept artist, you usually come in pretty early. Sometimes even before directors come on. You work with a production designer who designs the look of the film, and he or she will sort of brief you on generally what they're after per element of the script. Sometimes it's more heavily design-based, sometimes not so much. But depending on the size of the film, you can end up concepting lots of it, or just key moments. And usually the bigger films, you'll concept more elements just because they've got more time and more money, and they also want to look at certain scenarios, especially things that cost a lot of money, and do an illustration first, or a number of illustrations, to make sure that what they're going to build and what they're going to put their money into is what they're after. So, yeah. I've broken this up into a few bits and pieces. First of all, I thought I'd look at locations. A lot of the time doing concept work, you have to go to a location. I don't go to it specifically, but you're given location photos and you're asked to illustrate over the top of the photos to give the designer, and hence the director in the studio, and the producers an idea of what the art department is going to do to transform that location. I couldn't bring up the original picture here. I'll just skip this one. This is from Cowboy Bebop. Sorry, I'll just have to do it this way. This was a location. I had to illustrate over the top of it. I can't bring up the previous one, so I'll just skip. Essentially, this often you'll... all right. All right, yeah. Quite often you'll be given a location photo and asked to do an illustration over the top of it, and then the location will change for various reasons. Like, one might be that it falls through and they can't, it's not available anymore, or the director says, I don't like it, or there's too many restrictions, for a multitude of reasons. So with this one, that location fell through, so then they had to go to this one. Not sure if you guys, it was a TV show, Cowboy Bebop, based on an anime style animated series, but it was all done in New Zealand. So they went to this location, and the general story element was that the two main characters are there, and they're infiltrating from memory, a criminal who's got all these dogs in his this van, and it gets illuminated by a spotlight. So it was basically taking this original concept and then applying it again onto this one, which you can see here is this. So there's certain things that you can change. Obviously this big wall in the background was added. Gives you an idea of like what they're going to shoot and what they're going to put in visual effects. So obviously all this stuff down here is remaining, so they'll just dress it and light it and make a few changes, but ultimately the back scene is visual effects. Also jump in with any questions whenever you can interrupt me whenever you like.
That's developed from the original location photo, if you just pop back to it.
Yeah.
So, and you'll put all the lighting and the tones, and so from there to the next frame down, which is bingo.
Yeah. I think, I can move down like that. Yeah. So you sort of can't see in, it's a bit sort of, but yeah, this comes out as really, really black, but it's actually got, there's sort of more information there, but this is probably, I'm not sure if you guys saw 13 Lives. It was based on those the cave divers that saved all those Thai kids. It was done on the Gold Coast, and the whole film, I think they shot a couple of elements in Thailand, but most of it was done up on the Gold Coast. So this is a photo of the exterior of the cave. So this was done. I did this remotely, so I don't know exactly where it was on the Gold Coast, but essentially they had this huge car park that went a fair bit back, and they were going to build the cave entry here, and where they've got the scaffolding is walking up to this cave entrance in Thailand, and all of this was going to be like where the reporters and where extra volunteers stay. There's like, coffee and all that sort of stuff. And so taking that photo and then pulling back a bit, it might not look like it's got anything to do with the original one, but I pulled back in the photo and added a little bit to the sides, and a couple of the trees, you can sort of see, oh no, I replaced a lot of the trees. But essentially it's so that they can go, all right, well, look, below where that light's coming in from the cave, everything down here will be physical. They'll dress it, they'll bring in the vehicles, they'll bring in the tents and stuff like that, and everything above that will be visual effects. And then sometimes like this, they want to see a night version, so you just do the same thing, but then go over and make it a night scene. So just because it's going to be shot in multiple conditions, and they just basically want to see it represented that way. Okay, this is another location. This is a film, Extraction 2. This was an interesting one because it started off being shot here, but due to COVID, there was a lot of complications. And from memory, I don't think they could get actors to come in. It just wasn't feasible. So ended up going through it was almost like two jobs in one, because me and another illustrator went through and did all the illustrations, and then they just went, we're going to go over to Czech Republic instead. So you go through and do all the illustrations again, but over different locations. So with, a couple of changes. But this one was, I don't know what it is originally, but it's somewhere in the Czech Republic where they wanted to make this into I don't think this was even in the film in the end. I think they might have cut some of these bits out. But
what was the film? Extraction
2.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yep,
action movie, Chris Hemsworth. So yeah, there was a flashback scene in it originally where the two brothers who emigrated into the States, I think it was maybe in the early 80s, maybe in the film, and so they wanted to change this into a customs area for these kids to go through. So they just wanted obviously a lighting change, heaps of people in there. You can see, which often with, this was going to be a very small scene, hence they didn't do a set build or anything like that. So you can see that there's a lot of things that they don't want to change, or you can't obviously remove columns, you can't change the floor. If you had a bit more money, or if there was a bit more action going in the scene and they didn't like a certain element like the floor, say for example they wanted it carpeted, they might do that to the location. But a lot of the time it's a quick one, they just want to see what it looks like, fill it up with people with a few peripheral dressing elements like the flags and stuff like that, and go, how much more do we have to do to sell this as a potential American style sort of customs area. So that's why often they'll use so many locations, or use locations when they've got a lot of scenes in different places, because it's cheaper than obviously building it as a set. This is another one, funnily enough, I'm pretty sure it's in Czech Republic, but it's like it's a backlot, but just an American style backlot that they use there, and I'm sure they've used it for plenty of films. So it's like a New York sort of, huge backlot area. I don't know how big it is, but in this film they used it a few times, and then so production companies just come in and put their own signage up there. They might be able to sort of stick facades on certain buildings, or, you know. But again, this was a small scene in the film. Again, I don't think it actually got in there, but it was in the 80s. I'm pretty sure it was the 80s, and they wanted to make it like New York Times Square. So this required, like, you know, going onto the internet with obviously getting reference from the designer as well, and looking for old signs from, you know, the 80s in the States. In Times Square was a good reference for it, and sort of sticking those everywhere using a specific car. That's quite often, like, you know, this is with action films that specifically they'll go, we want this type of car, and so, you know, this requires, like, you know, going in and trying to find a 3D model of a car, and if you can't find that one, getting one that's close, and then in Photoshop just, you know, fudging a few areas and stuff like that. But yeah, it gives you, you can see why they use these sort of locations so much, because it's got the bare bones of a New York City, and you can sort of see it, but you can sort of customise it to how you want it. This is another one in, it was somewhere in Eastern Europe, but so you just, the designer will send me this photo and just say, okay, we want, this is going to be, to describe the scene, you'll read it in the script, but he'll describe, all right, well, I want the van here, I want this action here, and you build up a lot of iterations. A lot of these things that I'm showing to you aren't like, I don't just do it first off and then it's done. There's a lot of different iterations, things change. Sometimes you do one or two and that's enough for them to get past, but a lot of the time you go through a lot of stages. So, and especially with this one, because it had so much action in, like so much going on in there. I think I started off doing one where there wasn't that much rubbish on the street, and then the designer goes, no, I want more rubbish. I think I had the bus facing, you know, you have the bus facing the wrong way. No, the guy goes out in the front. And it was very specific. You had these kids who were the brothers in the film, who in present day are sort of like gangster figures, baddies. And yeah, it was very specific with the layout of the action and stuff like that. This is another one for Extraction 2. This was, again, somewhere in Eastern Europe, but originally it was, I'm not sure if you guys know, with Cockatoo Island, they do a lot of shooting out there. This was originally going to be shot out there, so it was a port scene. A lot of these ones too, I've only seen the film once, but so many things go on that a lot of the time they don't even, doesn't even make the edit, like, you know, but I'm pretty sure they shot stuff here. So the brief for this was, like with a lot of location photos, there's a certain element that you go, we're not going to really touch because it's, you know, it's a small scene. We like the general sort of debris here and there, but the background, you can, you know, go to town on that. You can change whatever you like. And so, and they wanted it to look more like an industrial sort of port. So you can see here, like a lot of the stuff in the foreground is the same, like, you know, but in the background, you know, the sky's the limits because it's all visual effects. So yeah. This is another one. Not sure if you, I haven't seen it. Better Man with Robbie Williams.
Which one? What's it?
Better Man.
Better Man.
Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams as a monkey.
Yeah, as a monkey. Yeah.
Have you ever seen it? It's fantastic.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. No.
Oh, you work on it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the time.
We didn't see the film, but we watched a scene of it, and with our editing teacher, and she had all like the audio mixing.
Ah, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also some behind the scenes.
Cool. Oh yeah, because I think it was a really sophisticated shot, wasn't it, when they were coming out of the music store?
Lots of cuts and stuff.
Yeah.
Long shots and then cuts that like you can barely tell.
Ah, wow. Yeah.
It's all shot in Melbourne too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of it. Yeah, this was, I really enjoyed this job. Like it was, I mean, look, I enjoy almost all of them, but the director on this one, Michael Gracie, I never met him, but I heard nothing but good things about him. He's just...
Australian.
Yeah, sounds like a really nice guy. And the designer, Joel, who I think this was his first feature designing, but he was a illustrator previous to that. Really, really nice, like just a really nice bunch of people. I was working remotely, but like you still sort of, have a lot of calls with them and all that sort of stuff. But again, this film had a lot of locations. I think they had, there was a small handful of studio builds, but a lot of them, they were going to locations and dressing them. And because they had so many and they were very, just close that.
You've done it again.
Maybe I'll just down there. Yeah, because they had, and I mean, I think it was self-funded. I think Better Man, and then they sold it afterwards, maybe. So
something like that.
Yeah,
it wasn't fully funded.
No. But it was funny because I remember when I got the script and I was like, oh, Robbie Williams film. Like, I knew who Robbie Williams was, but I didn't know that much about him. But as I was reading the script, I didn't know he was a monkey in it. And I was reading it and I was just going, they kept talking about his arms being really hairy and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe he does have really hairy arms and that's part of the joke or something. And it was only afterwards when I spoke to the designer, he goes, oh, you got it that he's a monkey? And I went, oh, right, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it was quite an interesting one because it's, even if it was a straight biopic, just because there was so many time periods in it and there was a lot of characters and a lot of different scenes, as a design job, it's pretty huge and it's got to look great. So this was, I think, I can't remember where the location, somewhere in Melbourne. I think it might have been a university. Maybe it was one of the university buildings. Yeah, so they were looking for a place for, it's Liam Gallagher, I think. I think that's the one that he was mates with, for his house. And so at first they were like, oh, we need something big and gothic. And that was the thing they wanted, sort of, a gothic look. And so it's funny, like you go into a place like this and you sort of, if you were to suggest to producers or the studio, this is where we're going to do it, they go, oh, well, it doesn't look like a house. And so that's where the job comes in, where the designer will go, okay, I've got these ideas and you've got to try and make this look more like a gothic house. So this changed a lot of location. This wasn't in the film. I think they, so this was taking that same room, keeping the floor and stuff like that, keeping everything, but rugs on the ground, changing the lighting. There's a lot of things too when you get location photos, especially with locations such as this, where they don't want a lot, they don't want the walls damaged. They don't want, so anything that's affixed has to be out of shot so they can put in some sort of, rather than sticking it to the wall, stuff like that. So there's certain rules that you've got to go by here a little bit. This location they didn't use, so they found this building, which I know this is a really well-known building, I think in Melbourne. It's used a lot. It's pretty amazing. I don't know the name of it, I'm sorry, but they thought, oh, the top room they'll use for Liam Gallagher's bedroom or lounge room, and this, if you guys have seen the film, there's a party, I think, there or something, and they come in and it's almost like a sort of and this was the entranceway into the party. So again, it makes sense because there's two scenes and that, to travel between these locations is just a matter of changing rooms. So again, it's taking that same thing that was in the original concept and just applying it to this one, adding a few extra things. They liked the way the wallpaper looked. There's obviously, in the original, there's some things that you can't take out, like some cabinets, but often they'll sort of stick a facade or stick something on top as long as they do it safely, the records and stuff like that. So you're still keeping the existing infrastructure there, but you're just plastering over it a little bit. And then that entranceway is almost the same, but obviously chandeliers hanging. coverings on the floor, just general dressing, and the sculpture that they wanted in there, where they get beers from the penis of the. I'm not sure if that was in the film, but that was a big thing that they wanted.
That sculpture was in the previous concept you did.
Yeah,
the location. So you knew that concept was coming, did you?
No. They just described. They wanted Liam. I'm not sure if this happened in real life or whatever, but they wanted this giant Minotaur statue where the beer flows through, and they put it under his penis to get their beers.
So they physically made it in the end.
Yeah. Well, if it's in the film, yeah. Is it in the film? No. Maybe it didn't pass.
They had a more extreme version of that in the filming of Final Destination 3, where that one's filmed in a theme park kind of area. So they made a massive styrofoam version of that one character, Dick, and then for some reason they just gave him a big dick.
Oh, right,
And
okay.
I don't think it's in shot at all in the film.
Ah, right.
But they just did it for fun.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, well. Yeah, I should check it out and see. Yeah.
Model maker would be really pissed if I made it and they didn't use it.
Yeah, totally, yeah. Oh, well, everyone gets paid anyway, so it's all right, as long as you get. This is more of like sometimes you're asked to combine sort of almost two locations. Like this one, the designer wanted the background units, but this is for extraction too as well, but they were going to use this location, and they were going to, past that gate, put in these sort of almost like a rundown apartment block, and then this area here was going to be a whatever country they're from, their sort of their club. I can't remember what it was. So essentially it's combining those two, so it's using
That was New Zealand, was extraction?
No, they use in Czech Republic.
Yeah. Barrendorf Studios and stuff,
So, yeah, it's, when you look at this, I think I pulled out the photo a little bit more, but yeah, that had to stay. That's what they were shooting. And yeah, just making it look like Eastern European poverty.
So you've extended the frame from those stills, basically?
Yeah, well, you use, like, use those buildings there, and then just put them in there, and then use that with the original one.
And change the background.
Yeah. So sometimes too, like this one, which was again extraction too, like the designer, it's almost like working over a location without them finding the location yet. So it was this fight that was going to occur in a meat fridge, and so I'm given this with a lot of description, stuff like that. The designer for this is really good. Like he was able to just nail briefs so well that you wouldn't have any questions. You just go, yep, very straightforward. So given this as a base, and then so you know that, and then once you get that, you go, well, you've got to try and figure out how is it going to be lit, like, because it's in a fridge and you want to still make it dramatic, but you can't, it's very hard to sort of put lights in certain places without it breaking the illusion that it is actually a fridge. So you just use a bit of creative license and stick a spotlight so everything's a little bit backlit. But that's that.
Was the previous photo the brief that you got? What sort of brief do you get? Like how does that arrive, and like what makes a good brief?
Well, a good like Phil Ivey, the designer, he would have sent me this, and then with some writing, and a lot of the time he'll, with your first draft, which is also sort of part of once you send it through, he'll do notes all over it, which is really helpful. Move this here, do that. But from the starting point, he'll send through this and sort of say, okay, they're going to do some MMA fighting, but it's a meat locker. We haven't found it yet, but the idea is this. I've got one. I think I've got one coming up from Joel, which will show you like sort of what Phil does, but in a page. I think I've got one coming up Oh, no, I don't. Sorry. I'll try and find. A lot of the time, you'll get like just a page like that with writing and a photo and a lot of reference around it. And it'll say, these are some of the key references. This is the one the director really likes, or this is the one I really like, and it's, you know, but these ones can sort of, these other references might help you understand the broader picture. And often it'll be, well, the main action is this, this, and this. We need an area for them to come in, an area for them to get out, or, you know, so you get a good understanding of the way the scene will read. And yeah, you know, very rarely will you just be given like an open brief. It does happen sometimes because there's a lot going on and they just want you to start on something. And then once you start on it, then they go, yeah, no, that's not right. Bring that back to the background, you know, all these sort of things. But generally a good brief or a general brief is a bunch of reference images, a phone call with them, you go through them and you make notes as they speak, and then you put together a rough, and then you send that through before you commit to doing anything that's too finished. And from there, you go through iterations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. Now, that's the part about locations. Okay, that was the original photo from that first one. Okay.
Could I just ask what programs you use?
I use Maya for 3D and Photoshop, and a little bit of ZBrush occasionally, but not much. I use ZBrush often for just creating like really quick rocky terrain and stuff that you can sort of Photoshop over the top of. That's the thing. Almost everything, even with location photos, you're usually using some element of 3D, and with
how you do like the lighting changes and stuff?
Yep, you do a mixture of Photoshop and 3D. So what I usually start with the lighting in 3D. You try to get it as good as you can. Sometimes, you know, it's better than others. You know, it varies, I guess. But you really push it in Photoshop because you're able to sort of isolate elements and create a lot more drama. Pretty much Photoshop, with concept, the 3D makes a really good base, but Photoshop you're able to sort of create a more separation, get a bit more atmosphere going in there, a lot more sort of lighting, and you can really develop your focal point in Photoshop. Whereas in 3D, it might give you a reasonably realistic render, but it can, unless you're going to spend a long, and that's the thing, you don't have a lot of time to do these, so you've got to be reasonably fast. You can't be tinkering away too much. You've got to, occasionally you get some designers that you'll get to a point and they say, oh, do you want to go back and finish, you know, this, which is really nice of them to say, but usually it's like, oh, we've got a meeting tomorrow to show the director, so yeah, you don't have a lot of time. So you try to make it look as good as you can in 3D, but in Photoshop, that's where you can sort of add a lot of texture and aging and lighting hits. But the general direction of the light source and the explanation of the lighting comes in 3D. Yeah.
What's usually the time frame for you to do this, like all of that?
Well, to do, usually I start with a rough, which, yeah, I don't think I should have included some, completely missed that. I should have, usually what...
Let Liam push through into the next bracket you're going to do, and we'll just come back to those questions. Just hold it for a second.
Okay.
Just show them.
Yeah.
We'll continue on though. Don't lose that thought.
Well, this will be, I'll do this one next, because this is from the first Minecraft movie. And so this is an idea of a brief that... okay, so this one is... if you haven't seen the Minecraft movie, one of the the main elements in the villages type scene is this big arch, and the designer Grant wanted, early on, he's like, he liked the idea of putting this arch in. So these were some of the things that you get in as far as, this wasn't the brief, but this is part of the brief. Like, okay, the colouring, the shapes, this sort of, the basalt columns where you get this sort of Minecraft type.
Blockiness.
Yeah.
Blocky.
Which was interesting, this one, because I didn't know anything about Minecraft, and Grant didn't, but you learn a lot as you're doing it. And also the Mojang studios are involved, and they often say, no, you can't do that, or you can do that, So starting out early, it was really broad. I didn't know about the blocks. I'm not sure if you guys are into Minecraft or not, but yeah, there's a lot of rules with it. And so early on, this was like, we're going to have an arch in this villages area. So from there, so this has sort of gone out of order. So this is like this is what I do is like an early one. Like, it's really quick. It doesn't have any background in it. It's basically just saying, and so I usually write like rough mock-up or block in, just so if it does get printed out, people know that that's all it is. Like, it's not anything. I mean, obviously you can tell it's really rough, but for some reason it might come out, like it might get confused that, oh no, this is, you just make it clear that this isn't a finished product. It's more of just a starting point. So from here, I send this through to Grant, and he'll go, oh, okay, no, the arch is too small. I think of something more like that. And then he'll start talking about, oh, well, from here, it'd be nice to fall out there and in the background. And so it's a starting point. So from there, so this is like a starting point, and this is more of an end point with it, like taking all that. And this is obviously very different in the film. They had it a lot lower to the ground. It was obviously a lot more saturated, a lot more colour in it. At first they had this, from the top there going down, it was a sky train, but then they had their Elytra flying suit sort of thing instead. And also you can see that it's some of the rock down there, it's probably not rocky enough. And also, even though that reads through this as like grass, that's all water back there. So, yeah, that gives you an idea of a little bit of the process, like, now this was again an earlier one, but sort of bring it more just back to the art. And you can see that they're not on the grid, like, they're not that. Wasn't sure exactly how much you could get away with offsetting the angle of some of these things, but no, they've all got to be, straight on the grid. But yeah, from there you go to something like here, which is getting a little bit more Minecrafty, like it's all straight and stuff like that. There's probably a few things in there where you go, like, I can even see there, like that, you couldn't have that, like, because it's off on an angle, it's all got to be on grid. And then from there, it's to something like that, which is the whole sort of scene. Even though in the film it's sat a lot lower, it's, that's the general sort of progress and process. A big thing too, they wanted to see straight through the water, so you don't get any sort of occlusion underneath there. You can see everything sort of like the game, so it's more of a thin veneer than sort of water in a way. Any questions or anything?
How many days to whip up?
Oh, it's hard to say with this because it's such a big scene as well. But say for the mock-up, like that early mock-up, that's probably like half a day just to put that together. And then to do something like this takes, it's because I'd already built the top bit, so I already had that. So it's hard to sort of say, give a number of days for something like this because it's
days for finished art.
Yeah. But basically, when you got it all into place and you got to work it up, it's usually for a concept about a day.
So you're sitting at home then more on the screen.
Yep.
And they're in New Zealand or wherever, Grant's over there,
Yep.
and you're just basically Zooming or Teamsing each other or whatever and putting stuff up and talking it through with notes coming through here and
Yep.
so on. The next question is the elements that you're using, like, I know you've got the arch and you've Minecrafted it and given that blocky look. But
yep.
back in the earlier pieces, you've got. I remember the discussion from about Power of the Dog about the coffins that you just grabbed from a source.
Yeah.
You've got various resources.
Yeah. So when they're not specific, I guess Minecraft's a lot harder because it's everything's specific. Yeah. But if it's say like Extraction 2, like when they were fighting in that meat locker, like all those bits of meat, like I just go online and I usually just buy lots of, because the scene isn't about the meat. You could easily just, it's, if it's not specific to it, I'll usually just buy an asset like that, a 3D asset, and put it in there. Same with cars, like quite often you'll get specific cars, they want a 1970 whatever. So I'll go on and try and find one, and more often than not, you can find one, and then you just buy it.
Like resource libraries for the 3D art.
Yep.
So you've got front view of the bus and the back view of the bus.
Oh no, it's a 3D model, so it's a complete 3D model. Yeah. So you'll download it, and it'll and depending on the quality, sometimes they can be really average, pretty poor, and depending on where it sits on the scene, it's fine. Like most of the time, a pretty low res isn't too bad. And so for a car, something like that, you'll more often than not you can find the car, and then but if you can't, I find one that's close to it, and then look at photos, and then in Photoshop just cut out little bits and try and
You did Gatsby, I remember. You did Gatsby back in the day.
Yeah, very, very long time ago. I wasn't doing concept on it.
Not quite a spare cat in the end or something, but
yeah.
They could manipulate.
Well, mainly for the concept is like manipulating the car, so they go, oh, that doesn't look like a whatever the make of car is. You get something that's close, and then I'll cut out the bar from a photo and then stick that on there, and then just sort of smudge it all together in Photoshop.
So the 3D asset, they're cleared artwork for you.
Oh yeah, once you buy them, so you just buy them, and I've got like a whole library of stuff
They're quite cheap, aren't they? They're $2 or things like that.
Some are cheap, some are expensive. Like depending on what it is, sometimes like they'll go, oh, we need this specific vehicle, and the only one you can find is like, 150 US or whatever, and you just go, I always buy it versus, because you could make it yourself, but that takes time and you don't have that time. And especially with cars and stuff like that, I couldn't make it as good as these people that do.
What are the name of some of those libraries?
Oh, like CG Trader. I use that quite a lot. That's the main one that I use. But yeah, and the great thing is over time, you amass a library, like even like trees and
so if it makes into file,
people.
You also copyright cleared in that case too, aren't you? If you buy them.
Well, when you buy them, they come with a license. Yeah.
A question, sorry.
Yep.
It's just like you just mentioned how you sometimes buy like 3D models with people. If it's more on the expensive side, does it usually have its own rigging, or do you have to rig it yourself?
I don't usually get any rigging or anything like that because I don't need it to move or anything. It's mainly just to sit there. So quite often, if it's even if it's a person, I just want a scanned person, and I can chop off their head and stick them on other things. And even though you might render it out and it looks pretty sort of average, in Photoshop you can sort of clean it all up and sort of bring it all together. So the quality of the models isn't a huge priority. It's more that they, for a car, they look like that car. And if they're people, like if they're pretty low res, you can stick them in the background and stuff like that. Yeah.
I was going to bring up low resolution. I was like, you probably just get the low res stuff in the back and then the high res.
Yeah.
I also had another question. Like,
Yep.
When you're getting briefed on these, how early in script development is it? Because I know for like this in Minecraft movie, it's not very long in the movie.
Yeah.
You have to make a lot of variations.
True, yeah. Well, with this, like, quite often you're brought on even before there's a script, like, and sometimes there isn't even any storyboards, like it's just very early development stages. And sometimes you can even be brought on and they're just trying to sell it to the studio. So it's, the thing with doing...
I imagine this was a very delicate product, because like Minecraft is a big IP that they probably wanted to get as close to a mix of the game and realism as possible. So
Yeah.
in this case, it's like such a specific thing to get right.
Yeah, and it's I'm working on they're doing a second one now. I'm working on the second one, and now because the first one's been done, it's even more like, yeah, you want to make sure that it's right so the fans don't go, this, yeah, you got to, you want to be able to give the fans what they want. Like, you don't want to disrespect them or anything like that. But it's hard to learn, like, it's hard to learn.
Sims would be so much easier.
We'll keep pushing on. It's just, these images are fantastic.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Just one more question.
Yep.
Sorry.
So just going off the back of that, so if you're brought in like before script development, would any of your concept art be used to like be an example of, say, we need this certain amount of budget to like sell this?
Yes, yeah.
So these are just like references.
Yep.
We need this much for CGI or for design.
Yeah. Yep. And also too, it's funny the way concepts work, because sometimes you might design something in the concept and then they'll send that to set design to get drawn up and built. Whereas sometimes set design will build something and they'll give it to you and you'll put it in the concept. Sometimes you'll copy a storyboard frame, and sometimes you'll do something for a story and then that will be the storyboard frame. And I stress, it's not me like designing, like you design the shot and stuff like that, but it's a project of a committee. So if I set up a view, I'll send that through to the designer and say, are you happy with this view? And he or she might say, that's fine. Or they might say, no, pull out a little bit, or do this. Or can you do a couple of views? Then you work those up, and then they'll go to the director, and the director will say, oh, is there any way we can do a view like this or change? So these concept pieces are the inputs of so many different people. Okay, I'll do. This is another area of concept, which is props, which I haven't done a lot of. I prefer, like, it's. But I did some of these on Cowboy Bebop. So this. Don't worry about the first one. This
These
one.
are specific props now. Is that right?
Yeah. So, like, it's not with concept. The concept covers like obviously creatures and stuff like that, which I don't do. That's a very niche area. Props, vehicles, obviously locations, costume. This is another area like props. So with this one, this was again for Cowboy Bebop, and a lot of the props were made from, found objects put together. And so from memory, I was given like pieces, like, a piece of the keypad, and then something like this sort of flip phone type thing. And then you sort of asked to put together examples of how this might come together, like,
That's
so,
a hand prop of them, isn't it? That's
yeah.
like a phone system.
Yeah, very, very small. And like with this, they obviously want multiple versions just to see which one works. And also within the show, different generations of them. So like one was a little bit older than the other one. And so, yeah, it's just a matter of, through this, the designer's involved, but it's more the props master. Or if it's weapons, props and weapons, sort of, you're getting direction from them and they're getting it through the designer. So these are just This is another one. Sort of, you can see, like, you know, those old, you know, the GPS in your car. You can sort of see where all these elements, and reused this element, and it's a lot of just a facade of technical
Retro styling too, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
From Aliens?
No, this is from Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, I know, but the concept, the sort of the referencing back to, I think it's the question there.
Yeah.
Just your reference. Cowboy Bebop's what, 10, 12, 14 years ago?
Yeah. Oh, the TV show is pretty recent, but the anime is 90s. I think, yeah, early 90s from memory. But yeah, so it was, you know, a lot of this sort of handheld sort of technical GAC sort of stuff. That's the same one as that, but then they just wanted a handheld version where they could hold it like that. Same principle. Another one, like something that's really, really small, but it had, you know, a graphic. You can see the graphic from the actual anime on there. This was another one where they said, all right, we want different generations of it. So there's this one, then there was this one, which just looks like a flip phone.
And this would go after the physical model makers.
Yeah, then they go and build those. This is,
Wow.
yeah, this was like a pollen grenade. It was a really cool design. Like the armourer came up with this sort of like, yeah, this thing would shoot out these tiny little things and fill the air with this poisonous sort of pollen. So, yeah, it's, you know, obviously they want to see it before it's discharged and then after what it would look like, you know. Even though these things are tiny, like, you know, you never know, they might end up being sort of close up in frame. Usually not though. Usually a lot of work goes into these things and you don't even really see them.
You only get the close up if you haven't done the work.
Totally, yeah, that's it. Yeah. And a lot of guns, like, you know, just, you know, the combination of a sort of like, you know, that sort of shotgun, but also, you know, having these pulse and, you know, a lot of glowing lights and all that sort of stuff. Another one like a rail gun, like, so once you build these, it's pretty cool because then they'll physically build them and you'll see them, like, you know, I didn't actually see any of them in their finished state, but I saw them in their unpainted state, and it's quite cool. Like, you know, there's a lot of talented props makers out there. This was another one that was sort of like, from memory, it shot out like a hologram. And so it was something that you stood there and, yeah, they wanted dragons on the side of it and stuff like that. A lot of the time they'll give you an idea of, you know, what things they want to include. And it's a good thing with 3D is trying to figure out how it might actually operate, which then informs a lot of the design.
You'd be drawing that from scratch, wouldn't you, basically, or are you adding elements and stuff, but sure.
Oh, what do you mean? Like,
I mean, the object, would somebody give you a rough drawing to begin with?
no, yeah, just, you know, you just start in 3D and just start, you know, I start with a sphere.
You've had to create it from scratch.
Yeah. So it's usually word of mouth. Oh, it's going to be this, it's be this
They
big.
see something and then they make suggestions. And
Yeah. So I probably did a couple of versions of this, and then, like, you know, again, I'm not even sure if it was in the show or not. That's it for props.
all those things look like they should exist.
Yeah. Well, there's a great. I was just watching it the other day on the first Alien film, Ridley Scott's Alien. A lot of the props that were finished to such a high level and had a lot of functionality in them, but you didn't really see in the original film. Incredible stuff. Props makers are
Yeah, I remember
just.
I went to talk with Rod Cobb, gave it
Oh wow! Yeah, I went to that as well. That was amazing. Yeah.
He's no longer with it. He lived over at Chatswood for God.
Yeah. Lilyfield, was it Lilyfield or something?
So,
Yeah.
Linfield or something.
Yeah.
One of the world's great designers.
Roselle or something. Yeah.
Told us the story of, if you were there, remember the thing about, he designed all the figures in the Space Cantina
Yeah.
for $100 each.
Yeah.
The George Lucas made civilians out of float,
Wow.
making bendy figures out of them and things. It's the first.
He's an incredible
that was,
guy.
Sorry, that was Alien 1. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
He's incredible guy.
Amazing.
Very humble man as well.
Lovely.
Yeah. Okay, now quick look at vehicles. Okay, so again, Cowboy Bebop. This is from the anime. So like yeah, on Cowboy Bebop, it's rare. Like I got to do quite a few things on it, just for the. Yeah, they only did one season. I don't think it did well. I don't think it made it to its second season. But this, I can't remember what it's called, but Spike's vehicle, they had all the references there. This is one of those ones where, like, you know, the designer will pass through reference, but the key reference is in the anime. So you can sort of see, this was like, a lot of the interior was this sort of like 80s, you know, sports car sort of vibe, even though they knew what the general sort of look of it was.
To explain, Cowboy Bebop's like a live action
version of the anime, yeah.
Kind of like Minecraft in a way, I would have thought,
yeah, it's like an animated remake into live action. So yeah, they had the anime to go through with a lot of the design, but yeah, to get into the specifics and to also make it more appealing for live action. Yeah, you know, you get a lot of reference like this.
Did the design team look to watch the original anime at all? Like,
well, they used to do screenings of it every Friday, like they'd show an episode. But I mean, I'd already seen it all because as a kid, I really liked the show. And the directors, because there was multiple directors on it for each episode. From what I gather, the idea was to make it as close to whether or not they actually got there or not. I'm not sure. I guess it's up to the viewer.
It's close to they try to go as close to the anime as they think they can, whereas Minecraft, not quite.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So so as you can sort of see in here, like that's what he's driving there, and you can almost see it's like a curtain behind it. Like so, so first of all was this was basically looking what they did in the anime and getting as close to it as possible, and then adding a few extra bits that they couldn't see in the anime. Also, because it's cell animated, it changes from scene to scene sometimes. Like some things are a bit bigger, like, you know. So, what's that? Sorry? That's the thing too. Yeah, you might have a big area where there's not, like you saw in that. It looked like almost like a curtain. If we were to put that in a live action, people would go, "Why is that there?" Like it works in animation, but not so much in live action.
There's concept art of the original one, and then you've got concept art of the new one.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny how it works that way. Like because it's, I guess you're looking at it through a completely different, not a completely different lens, but you're seeing things, I guess, in the original that are locked off on a shot, controlled in that frame. So it's customized to that frame. That's why I guess you can have a bit of changes from scene to scene, whereas in live action, yeah, they're going to shoot the same thing in every scene. So.
Saying that, like, when you're referencing, do you usually use, just a general question, would you usually use the frames for the show or the actual concept art, like more of a gauge of how the whole thing feels in like a bit of a 3D setting?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Reference, like, do you prefer referencing like shots from multiple angles from the show, or the flat concept art, or like a combination of both?
Probably. Well, I guess for me, it's good to have everything to inform. But at the end of the day, when you're on a show, they just want the specific concepts, because if they were to show other things along with that, props makers and stuff, they might go, oh. They want to say, because if there's something about a concept that the director or designer doesn't like, they'll fix it so they can get it into the pipeline, so it can be sort of set in stone, so no mistakes or deviations are made along those lines. So lots of concept and reference and is great at the beginning, but once it gets to a design point where it's getting close to being locked off, or it is locked off, they don't want to confuse it, or in my experience, they don't want to confuse it with anything that might potentially contradict it or mislead someone who's
Outdated.
building it. Yeah. Or visual effects as well, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, from there, and then doing. You can see that element there, and so in the from memory in the anime, I don't think behind him you saw a lot. So you sort of go, well, think in terms of like, oh, well, if you put a light. That's the thing with a lot of concept design as well, is being aware of what potentially could be light sources, and if they are, putting them in a place where they can be useful and not distracting, and they can enhance.
Important. What Liam's just talked about, light sources, you've got to have a way of lighting if it's a physical set.
Yep.
So you've got to incorporate in right at the beginning, where could the mythical light source be, or sources.
That's
It's really a very important sort of item you've got to address early.
Yeah, it's like whenever you watch shows, especially sci-fi type shows, it's good to pay attention to, where do they put the practical lighting? Because it's very rarely just whacked there for no reason, especially when it's built into an object, because it helps, you go, if they're going to be shooting back at the guy driving, well, he can, sort of be backlit by a light source like that. And often you'll see on TV shows, uplighting from consoles and stuff like that, which can create a really eerie effect. So these are little things that you want to try and incorporate if you can. I'd say that some of the more important things are building in lighting into things, and also building things that can be seen through. So they're not just a solid block. They've got voids in there, so that will create depth in the shot, unless, the idea of the shot is to make it really claustrophobic, where you might not have that. But a lot of the time, even if a film does have a claustrophobic element in there, you still want to shoot through stuff because it gives you depth and interest, and there's a lot of things that can sort of go on and play that. You don't just want the concept to be and Minecraft is probably a good example. They've got a lot of holes in things, which allows you to see through to other areas, whereas traditional mountains is just a solid block. It's good to utilize those things. It can really give a lot. It can make the illustration a lot more saleable, in as far as studios looking at it and going, because essentially at the end of the day, that's what these are items that the designer and the director are saying, this is what we want to do. So you've got to try and make them look as enticing. It's almost like advertising. So they're trying to sell these concepts, these ideas that they have, and get them made. So
The lighting source of this, it's in front of the actual picture.
Yeah. Well, what's that, sorry?
The lighting source.
The light source.
How did you place it?
Well, from memory, outside is, a global ambient light source. If you had a figure sitting in there, that might change a little bit, because at the moment it's more of a descriptive illustration of this vehicle. But if it was in an action scene, which had, a figure driving and looking back, the lighting might change. You might have it less ambient coming in there and more, maybe this might be activated more and have more of a point light. Depends on the way it's framed. You always, and sometimes, you might want to do a certain lighting effect, but it's at midday and you can't do that. So you got to figure out another way. And sometimes you can do that by occluding areas, putting bits in shadow. So it's midday, but a little bit of light's getting through. So it's trying to figure out these ways to make something visually appealing under certain restrictions that you might be under. Actually, I think there's one here. Yeah, so this wasn't more so much an action shot. It was more just to show how a person would sit in this, even though you've got the anime, but it's a build. So, the difference between this and the other one that I can see is that there's less light on the front of it. It's more of, a light source hitting there, but also the light source hitting him in the face. So, you want to direct the viewer to look in the right areas. You don't want them to look somewhere that's not important or might confuse them. I did on Avatar a lot of work on boats. Pretty much that's most of it, and tiny little details on boats as well. So
This is one of yours, is it?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So when I got the boat, they'd already from
It's Avatar 2, isn't it?
it is, yes,
Way of the Water or whatever.
the Way of Water. Yeah, this is the Picador. So I think maybe it might have looked a little bit different in the end. I'm not sure, but basically it was the same. The shell was already designed years and years ago, so it was a matter of going in there and putting in lots of details. You know, it got to the point where, you know, you're talking about like things like that. They go, oh, can you move that over? Like, it's very specific. This is another one, like a console of the boat. So a lot of these elements you can just buy online. Like, so they're not invented. They're copied from real panels that you can slide in.
So you can buy the switches and the
Yep.
the levers and the wheel and all that.
Yeah, like this
Yeah.
by itself, that by itself. Sometimes too, I think Alistair, who was designing and sort of art directing these boats, he might have picked up some of these things. I mean, the steering wheel, but most of the exterior is custom, but yeah, some areas like this, because they all function. And this was a real boat as well. Like, this boat could move around and go really.
Built, so yeah, and it had
Yeah.
physical.
Where did the steering wheel come from? What car was it?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't remember, but this boat, yeah, it was a proper functioning boat that, you know, went really, really fast and stuff like that. Like, I don't know the specifics of it, but yeah.
Is it a budget or are these assets out of pocket?
I don't buy the assets. No, I just illustrate them. So those, you know, I'm just given the web page where they're going to buy them, and yeah, you just make a 3D model of it and put them in there. Like, so everything that I do is purely digital. So I don't have to worry about if I was to illustrate something and they'd say that's too expensive. That would be then a budgetary concern that I'd go, okay, well, I'm going to put some off-the-shelf elements in there rather than, because sometimes you might design something that's really complex and they go, we can't afford to do that. So, and that's something you've got to keep in mind too if you're designing anything, that there's a cost factor that comes with that down the track, and you don't want to be wasting your time doing something that, if it's going to have to be physically built, it's different if it's obviously in the distance and it's CG, or if it's even mid-ground and it's CG. But anything physical, yeah, there is a budgetary element to it that you've got to be aware of.
Like, if you're, it sounds like are you involved with like maybe pitch, kind of like looking at the kind of, this is what we work with the film, kind of considering?
Not really, no. Like, I don't ever, I just do the work and then pass that on to the designer. He's more of the one that will sort of go, this is what I'm thinking. You know, occasionally you might be in the background, you might listen, like, you know, like it's been ages since I've been on location for a film, but you'd often hear the designer talking over Zoom with the director, oh, we're thinking of this, and, you know, but no, you just do your work and pass it on, and yeah, because they know what you've done as much and maybe even more than you, because, you know, they've helped sort of point you in the direction that they want to go.
Liam, how did you get involved with Avatar 2? Was it a mate or were you directly connected?
No, well, I went over to New Zealand and worked on the Meg film. And from there, the supervising art director on Meg was on Avatar, and so he contacted me to work on Avatar. It's usually, or it's almost all the time, like, it's a hard industry to get into, but once you're in there and if they're happy with your work, yeah, they'll
Liam doesn't even have a website. I think it's a point of honour, is it?
Oh, no. Well, it's funny. I've never. I used to have a website, but now I just never got around to it.
You're busy.
Well, yeah, and also too, for jobs sometimes, like if you're working with a new designer, they'll go, oh, do you have some work? And I'll just send them a PDF of work. It's also the thing too, I mean, at the end of the day, all these images, technically I don't own them. Like once you do them for the production, they own them. So I've got friends who, you know, some productions have asked them.
If you put them on your website, you've got to get approval from the production companies. It could be Universal or Warner.
Yep. And
that's a nightmare. It's a special request. Have you got any striking Vipers images from you did Black Mirror with Annie?
No, I don't think I even. They were so quick that.
Yeah.
I probably don't even have the originals anymore because I did them when.
A couple on Annie's website. Oh, images.
Right.
Thing in architectural or whatever. Yeah.
Oh no, like because I think they were probably like a couple of hours. I think I did those when I was actually on the early stages of Avatar and just did them after hours, so in the evening. So they were so quick. I wonder if I've even kept them.
You might have designed the video game world or something in that, or concept.
Yeah, whatever I did on that was pretty. It wasn't huge amount of work, like you know.
Power the dog in one of your clips there, do you?
Yeah, sure.
The house, and just to show the classes what's built in 1A.
Yeah.
This is very much a part of what Liam does is, express the overall picture, which of course you then economise by building only Power the Dog with Jane Campion film, Oscar winner and so on.
Yeah.
And there's reference to the original house, is that right? Or
yep. Okay,
that's
so
the sort of overall look of the Prairie Mansion.
This was the.
Where else would you shoot in Western New Zealand?
Yeah. This is a good example of a job where when I came onto this job, it was me, the designer, and a producer, I think. Even though Jane was I think in Australia at the time because I was in New Zealand when I did this. So it was really, really small. And so I was just working in one room and Grant, the designer. So he took that original house, which is, I can't remember the name, but it's a famous house. And he thought as a starting point, he goes, that's a bit of influence. And so he went through and just drew these elevations. So you can see them all there. And then
the production designer's sketches.
Yeah, and then so this was what I did there, and so this is the actual location where they were going to shoot it in Naseby, I think it was, and very early stages, like because they originally wanted to build the whole house, like, and I remember the producer because she was next door. She goes, no, like way too expensive, so. In the end, they didn't have the awning or the veranda, and they built the first level. You can probably see it online somewhere. It's pretty interesting.
So where they built to?
They built to here.
Right, okay.
And I think they even built a couple of sets inside. Yeah, so you could shoot through.
Sets inside and a little bit of insert for the...
Was it a horror movie? It looks like a haunted house.
No. It's a drama, sort of like a drama thriller. So... From here, this was all on this, like, it's an amazing location, like a lot of snow in the background, but also really sort of yellow grass. It was, yeah. So this is more what it ended up looking like. So there was no veranda. There was a little porch there. And yeah, they built up to here. And then maybe there was a couple of spots where they built the second level, so one of their bedrooms they could shoot through.
Victorian?
Well, it's
American vernacular.
Yeah, it's more. I think it was set late 18 to early 1900s. I think, from memory. Yeah, 1880, I think. There's a backstory on how long, because in the story, the two sons live in the house, but the parents were really wealthy and moved to, I think, Salt Lake City in the script. And so the sons are like farmers and cattle sort of dudes, and they sort of let the house go by the wayside. So the foundations there are solid, but the history from what, originally was like, there was a driveway where it was once, a thriving, really proud house, but now it's sort of fallen by the wayside a little bit.
In the Yellowstone house is similar. It's got some similarity as in the 1923, those American series. This is Liam's work.
So, and then these were the interiors. So the interiors were all done in studio in Auckland, but yeah, another one like pretty amazing finish. If you ever see the film, it's it got nominated for an Academy Award for production design, cinematography as well. I think maybe Jane was nominated for
Yes, director.
Yeah, and she wrote. I'm pretty sure. I think she wrote the script because it's based on a book of the same name, and yeah, she's someone. If you ever get the chance to meet her, she's a pretty wonderful person, highly talented, and just no ego. Really,
Wonderful lady to work with.
both her and Grant are similar. Like achieved, Oscar winners. There's just no ego, and they're, have done amazing work. So,
Grant, the designer, did Lord of the Rings, by the way. So
yeah, he did all the first Lord of the Rings. So it's a bit more of the interior. There was a lot of, build elements. So yeah, the old kitchen. Even built like, this was all on the property that they had out there. So yeah, they built the stables out there, which a lot of the film sort of occurs in.
So you're looking at all the photos from the period?
Yes, yeah. There's it's for some reason with this one I had the original reference. I don't know. Sorry about that. I thought it might have copied over. But yeah, there was a lot of these interiors, like especially see multiple versions of the. Yeah, here we go. So these are some of the reference in here, like a lot of what do you call it? Taxidermy birds and stuff on the walls. Hats as well, like sort of these sort of things. And in the end, like this was a good bit of reference in as far as like the aging and weathering of stuff, like the floors and the walls and the panels and stuff like that. And that was sort of like used in this the Red Mill, which went through various iterations. Like the windows were once that big, and then they came smaller, a lot more darker. A bit less taxidermy. Same thing at night. Same shot in the day.
Offering options and possibilities as well as
Yeah, this is an example of like they went through many locations. I think this is the one that you're talking about, Bob. Yeah, with wanting to have a funeral home, and so they found this place, and then so keep that window. Obviously, keep all the things where they are, but put coffins in there.
You bought the coffins, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of them I might have
Had to squeeze
made.
them in from memory. I remember the discussion.
Are they still there?
Yeah. I've still got them.
That was the location you used, is that right?
No,
No,
this was another location where they
that's-
did the same thing. I think this was the one they ended up using, this one here. So they sort of covered up those windows and then kept those ones there. I presume, I can't remember. It was such a small scene in the end. So
The original photos for referencing, what year were they taken?
the like the black and white ones.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. They were of the era, so I guess late 1800s.
Did you find them, or did somebody else?
No, all provided, yeah.
Even early 1900s. I think the first good camera was around like 1912. So I remember on the Titanic there was one of the guys who was an heir to like the first cameraman. So.
Well, they had photos in the Civil War, so that's feels But maybe they probably had much better ones.
Probably portable cameras.
Yeah, and better film cameras as well. Yeah.
Guys, we're just coming around to 2 o'clock. I don't want to take too much of the other classes, but are there any last questions while we've got Liam here? Just a couple of last questions.
Oh, sorry.
How long have you been at that?
For probably about 10, 12 years.
Where
Maybe.
did you come in from an art background originally?
Well, I went to film school afters, but I went to so that was like 2006. So that's a lot. That's almost 20 years ago. But as you do, you get out of film school, and then it takes a while to get a job. I guess I didn't really have much of a background before that. Trying to find my.
But your drawing skills and things were sort of.
That's all. Yeah, that's all come. Like my mum's a painter and my dad was a writer, and so I grew up drawing and stuff like that. Yeah.
You found your.
Yeah, lucky enough to. Yeah, lucky enough to.
Are you working on a sequel to next Avatar?
Well, it's funny, because we were meant to, when we were doing that, we were working on both that one that's coming out now. They did a lot of reshoots for it, but I thought, maybe it won't count the work that I've done on that one. But I think it might, because they sent through an email about a screening for it. So, yeah, the Fire and Ash, because that was because when I was on Avatar, I was on it for 2 years, but you're floating between both movies. So, yeah, I guess I'll find out when I see the film and go, oh, yeah, I remember that. That's why a lot of the Avatar stuff, the funny thing with showing Avatar work was, I remember a specific email came out and said, you can only show work that was printed in the book. They did a book, and anything else outside of that, you've got to get written permission. So I've only ever shown stuff that was actually in the book. But there's other stuff. I guess I'll wait and see if it's in the next one.
Do you have like an art book of some sort of your own? Like a portfolio, I guess.
Yeah, well, I usually just whenever if someone requires like an example of work, I usually just make a PDF and send it through of just more recent stuff. The thing is too, sometimes it might be for a job, and it might be say something like this, Power of the Dog. You don't want to send them like science fiction stuff and all that. You want to send sort of more appropriate stuff. But at the same time, you can still show stuff that's non-related, but it's so often, if it's for a specific type of job, I'll just go through old work and get stuff that I think that might be more relevant to the subject matter.
The scope of what you do, but maybe you try to focus it.
Yeah.
How do you network in your field?
Well, it's a small industry in a way. Like, depending in your departments, like I'm sure every set designer knows every set designer in Australia, and every art director knows, like all the concept illustrators that I know of, I'm pretty much friends with. Most of them I know, so the networking stuff it's more, I guess, when you finish film school, which is the tough time, is like, or how do you
job.
Yeah. And I remember I used to do a lot of just free stuff, like just volunteer, and to get experience, but also a lot of it isn't purely about the end result. It's also about the process of delivery. Like, you need to figure out the right questions to ask, how to get across everything, and as far as like taking notes and making sure that when you're asked to do something, that you do it. Like, it's very easy to be given a list of things and you miss out something. But if it's been mentioned a couple of times, people are going to get annoyed with that. Like, also just, keeping everyone looped in. Like, if you're asked to do something by someone who's not the designer, send out an email saying, yep, just, it's understanding the idiosyncrasies and that's how when you volunteer you get a little bit more, and you don't have that pressure of having to absolutely deliver, so yeah, I did a bit of that.
Final question, I know you've got a couple of credits as production designer, but
That was just for film school.
Film schools,
Yep.
short films, yes,
Yeah.
I noticed that. So you've no ambition to move up into production design?
No, I don't think so. It's so hard. And it's like the designers, I've worked for so many amazing designers, and they're never off the clock. They're working. It's a pretty tough job. Not with, obviously without its rewards and but yeah, no, I've always, even when I went to film school, this is what I wanted to do. I didn't go there. I wanted to learn production design because I knew, but doing illustration is sort of it's like digital production design in a way, because it's the same language, and by studying production design, you're able to speak to designers and understand, because I've got some friends that don't have that background, and it's really helpful to be able to understand architectural features and what practical elements come into play when you're on set. Like if you're designing something and it's for a studio, well, you want to figure out, all right, well, if it's a set, maybe it will break here, or there'll be a camera and where you can sort of move the camera back, you go, oh, I know the wall's here, but I know they'll probably float that wall out. So all those sort of things that I guess you guys probably know now just by all the stuff on the internet. But I remember when, not that it was that long ago that I went to film school, but I found it really difficult to even find a lot of information about what a production designer actually did, because it's one of those roles it's not, most people want to become a director or a cinematographer. Production design, it's responsible for everything outside of the actors on camera, but there's a lot to learn in the area, and it's an amazing area. If you guys are considering pursuing production design, yeah.
You ever talk to Francois Audoy, whatever his name is, David Afters? He was out here doing Wolverine.
Oh no, but a good friend of mine does all his concept work. Yeah,
Francois is a
really nice guy, apparently.
American, whose credits are astounding. He also did the new Bob Dylan film, Complete Unknown, as well as spectacular stuff like Wolverine. He was out here.
He did the Ghostbusters as well, didn't he? I think that new Ghostbusters, one of the new.
But he started off doing what Liam was talking about, when you work for Spielberg on AI, you take the photo and you don't walk in with a few glued together happy snaps. You have to present them to Mr. Spielberg as concept art. And from there he went into art direction, and then he went to production design from there, and it's been a remarkable career. He was talking to us about, he couldn't talk about Wolverine, but he showed us Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is a shit film but with great art department.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time, and the work that went in for a bad film is just the same as work goes into a master.
That's so true, yeah.
And it's a staggering amount of work, whether you want to carry that can, but that's where he wanted to go.
But that's a really good point. Quite a lot of the films you work on, you just go, these probably not going to be very good, but the work that goes into it is. I heard a quote from someone, but it's something along the lines of, just paraphrasing it, but that all film is an art, but a lot of art goes into making it. And I think that's, you can work on a terrible film, but it can be such a great job as well.
Yes.
Very rare have I gone, I'm over that. I feel really privileged, and it's great. The film industry is great to work on, but it's tough.
Bad movies and going, I find myself watching a movie I know is bad, but going this is someone's baby.
That's nice of you.
I really love this. I just feel bad, so I don't making myself like it.
What did you do on the Meg?
The Meg, same stuff. I don't have.
I'm going to put a photo of the giant shark jumping in with. I think it's got Jason Statham on it.
Yeah.
With a big stick, and it's trying to hold its mouth open.
Yeah, I did a lot of the stuff that was under because originally it was it was a horror film. It was going to be really, like, it wasn't tongue-in-cheek, and it was more like Alien, I guess, because they had that Mana 1, I think it was called, that base. I did a lot of the underwater base.
Giant shark, huge shark.
Yeah. It's quite, when they sort of, because they brought on a new director, because it was Eli Roth. Do you know that guy? He does a lot of horror films.
He did Hostel.
Yeah, he was originally the director for it. And so when the new director came on, it became a lot lighter and it had more of a comedic element. But yeah.
Right, we'll have to finish there because you've got classes coming up. But I'd like to thank LIAMBECK.